One of the most consistent truths in life is change. Everything changes, seasons change, circumstances change, and yes, even people change. It is a principle we cannot escape, no matter how much we wish things would stay the same. Now, this change can come unexpectedly. A person who has been in your life for years might suddenly take a different path. This isn't something to fear, it's something to understand. And when you understand it, you can prepare yourself to thrive even when you're standing alone. Change is one of the few constants in life. People, situations, and circumstances evolve, sometimes gradually and other times in a blink of an eye. While this change is a natural part of the human experience, it can often feel unsettling, especially when it involves people we are close to. We might wonder why someone who has been a steadfast part of our lives suddenly shifts, behaves differently, or chooses a path we never expected. The key to navigating these moments lies not in resisting the change, but in understanding its inevitability. From the very beginning, life teaches us that change is an integral part of growth. Consider the season: spring gives way to summer, summer fades into autumn, and eventually winter sets in, only for the cycle to begin anew. Just as the earth follows its natural rhythm, so do the people around us. Their experiences, personal growth, and individual journeys shape them in ways we cannot always predict. What we must recognize is that this change, though sometimes unexpected, is not something to fear. Instead, we need to embrace it as a reality of life. Many times when people suddenly change, it takes us by surprise. Perhaps a close friend decides to distance themselves, or a family member begins to prioritize things that no longer align with the relationship you once had. These shifts can feel personal, leading to confusion, frustration, or even hurt. However, it's crucial to understand that change is rarely about you, it is about the other person and their personal journey. People evolve for reasons that may be outside our awareness, and often their transformations are necessary for their own growth. One of the common reactions to unexpected change is resistance. We tend to cling to the familiar, trying to hold on to relationships or circumstances as they once were. But in doing so, we are fighting against the natural flow of life. Instead of resisting, we need to recognize that just as we evolve, so do others. Everyone is on their own journey of self-discovery, personal development, and sometimes people outgrow certain aspects of their lives, including relationships. Now, understanding that change is inevitable doesn't mean we should passively accept everything that happens. Rather, it calls for a mindset shift or readiness to adjust when people around us evolve. This readiness requires emotional maturity. It means accepting that people have the right to change, and that their change doesn't diminish your own worth or identity. In fact, when you anticipate that change is part of life, you are better equipped to handle it with grace and wisdom. Another important aspect of embracing the inevitability of change is learning to see it as an opportunity for self-reflection. When people around us change, it often triggers changes in ourselves. It gives us the chance to assess our own growth and direction. Are we holding on to something out of fear? Are we trying to control others' behaviors to maintain a sense of stability? These questions help us focus on our internal landscape rather than external circumstances. When we focus on what we can control, our reactions, our mindset, and our growth, we empower ourselves. In moments of change, it's easy to feel a sense of loss or loneliness. But remember, change doesn't always mean the end of something valuable. In many cases, it marks the beginning of something new, something more aligned with who we are becoming. For instance, a friend who drifts away may open space for new connections that resonate with your current path. A person whose priorities shift may push you to reevaluate your own goals and dreams, leading to a deeper sense of purpose. The idea that change is inevitable also reminds us not to take things for granted. Relationships, opportunities, and even the simple moments of joy we experience in life are all fleeting. When we understand this, we begin to cherish the present moment more deeply. We hold space for gratitude rather than entitlement. We appreciate the people in our lives for who they are today, without the expectation that they will remain the same forever. One of the most profound truths about change is that it often brings growth on both sides. While it can be difficult to navigate, especially when it comes unexpectedly, it also offers a unique opportunity for transformation. It encourages us to expand our understanding of ourselves and others. As we grow through change, we learn the value of flexibility, patience, and compassion. We become more resilient, more adaptable, and ultimately more in tune with the rhythms of life. So while change may seem intimidating, it is important to remember that it is not a threat, it is a teacher. It is through change that we discover our own strength, our capacity to survive and thrive, and our ability to navigate life's complexities. When people suddenly change, don't resist it. Accept it, learn from it, and be ready to stand strong, knowing that you are fully capable of thriving, even in the face of the unknown. Self-reliance is one of the most critical aspects of personal development, yet it is often misunderstood or overlooked. In a world where we are constantly surrounded by people, friends, family, colleagues, it is easy to fall into the habit of depending on others for support, validation, and even direction. While relationships are important and can certainly enrich our lives, relying too much on others can leave us vulnerable, especially when unexpected changes occur. People may suddenly change, drift away, or be unavailable when you need them most. In these moments, your ability to survive on your own, to stand firm in your own strength, becomes crucial. This is where self-reliance steps in, not as a form of isolation, but as a necessary foundation for resilience and personal growth. Self-reliance begins with understanding that, at the core, you are responsible for your own life. No one else can live it for you. While others can provide guidance, support, and encouragement, they cannot walk your path. This realization is empowering, but it can also be daunting. It requires you to confront the reality that you must be prepared to face challenges on your own. This doesn't mean you should push others away or refuse help when it's offered. Rather, it means cultivating the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, even when help is not available. One of the key aspects of self-reliance is developing a deep sense of self-awareness. You need to know your strengths, weaknesses, and the areas of your life where you need to grow. Self-reliance is not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being honest with yourself about where you are and taking responsibility for your personal development. This means making a conscious effort to improve your skills, mindset, and emotional intelligence so that when difficult times come, you are equipped to handle them. Building self-reliance also requires you to cultivate confidence in your abilities. Many people underestimate their capacity to solve problems or handle adversity because they have never been forced to rely solely on themselves. But the truth is, you are far more capable than you may realize. When people suddenly change or when life throws you a curveball, it can feel like the ground beneath you is shifting. However, when you trust in your own abilities, you can adapt and move forward with a sense of inner stability. This confidence comes from experience, but it also comes from actively choosing to challenge yourself. Step out of your comfort zone regularly. Take on tasks that stretch your abilities and push you to grow. By doing so, you develop a track record of success that reinforces your belief in yourself. Over time, this builds a foundation of self-reliance that you can draw upon when needed. Another critical component of self-reliance is emotional independence. Many people rely on others not just for practical support, but for emotional validation. We often seek comfort in the approval of others, and while it feels good to be validated, it can also become a crutch. Emotional independence means learning to validate yourself, to find your sense of worth internally rather than from external sources. It involves developing a strong inner dialogue that encourages and supports you, even when others are not present to do so. This emotional independence is particularly important when people around you suddenly change. When relationships shift, whether through physical distance or emotional withdrawal, it's easy to feel lost or abandoned. But if you have developed emotional independence, you will be able to navigate these changes without losing your sense of self-worth. You won't be as shaken by the actions or decisions of others because your identity and emotional stability are not dependent on them. Self-reliance also involves practical preparation. It's not just about emotional or mental strength, it's about being able to take care of yourself in tangible ways. This includes financial independence, having the skills necessary to manage your day-to-day life, and the ability to make decisions that are in your best interest. When you are self-reliant, You are not waiting for someone else to come along and fix your problems or make things easier for you. You take ownership of your circumstances and find ways to move forward, even when the path is difficult. Self-reliance is not about isolation or refusing help. It's about striking a balance between independence and interdependence. While it's important to be able to stand on your own, it's equally important to recognize when collaboration and support from others can enhance your life. The goal is not to reject relationships, but to ensure that your identity, stability, and progress are not dependent on them. You can engage in meaningful relationships without losing your sense of self-reliance, because you know that no matter what happens, you have the inner resources to continue thriving. Self-reliance is a journey of personal empowerment. It is about realizing that while the world may change and people may come and go, you have the strength within you to survive and succeed. When you develop self-reliance, you are not afraid of standing alone because you trust in your ability to navigate whatever life throws your way. You become resilient, adaptable, and capable of thriving even in the face of uncertainty. And in a world where change is inevitable, this self-reliance becomes one of your greatest assets. When people suddenly change, one of the greatest challenges we face is the emotional response it triggers. We often experience feelings of abandonment, betrayal, or confusion. We wonder what went wrong or why we were not enough to keep the relationship as it once was. But in these moments, we must realize that these shifts in relationships or behavior are not necessarily a reflection of us. Instead, they are often a reflection of the other person's personal journey, their evolution, or their circumstances. This is where emotional resilience becomes essential. It is the ability to maintain emotional balance, regardless of external changes, and the power to continue growing, even when those around us take a different path. Emotional resilience is the cornerstone of surviving moments when people we care about pull away or change in ways we didn't expect. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain or sadness when these changes happen. Rather, it means you won't be consumed by them. Resilience allows you to process your emotions, acknowledge them, and then move forward without allowing the experience to define you. It is not about suppressing your feelings, but about understanding them, learning from them, and ultimately rising above them. One of the key elements of emotional resilience is perspective. When a close relationship changes, it is easy to become fixated on the loss. You might dwell on what was, replaying old memories and wondering how things could have stayed the same. But resilience requires a shift in focus from what has been lost to what can be gained. While it's natural to grieve the end of a chapter, you must also recognize that every ending makes space for a new beginning. It is in these moments of change that you have the opportunity to grow in ways you might not have if everything had stayed the same. People evolving around you can be a catalyst for your own transformation. In these situations, it's helpful to remind yourself that everyone's journey is unique. Just because someone else is changing doesn't mean that they are rejecting you, nor does it diminish your value. People's decisions and life choices are often about their own needs, desires, and personal growth. Emotional resilience means accepting that not everything is within your control, especially the actions and choices of others. What you can control, however, is how you respond to these changes. This leads to another important aspect of emotional resilience: acceptance. Acceptance is not about agreeing with or liking the changes that occur in your relationships, but rather understanding that change is a natural part of life. When we resist change, we create unnecessary suffering. We hold on to what once was instead of embracing what is. Acceptance allows you to move forward with grace. It doesn't mean giving up on people or relationships, but rather letting go of the need to control or fix things. You allow life to flow, knowing that you have the inner strength to handle whatever comes next. Another way to build emotional resilience is through self-care. When people around you change, it can feel like your emotional world is shaken. This is why it's crucial to ground yourself through habits and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Engage in activities that bring you peace and clarity. This might be physical exercise, meditation, journaling, or spending time in nature. The key is to find what helps you reconnect with yourself, so you can navigate the changes around you from a place of strength rather than weakness. Self-care isn't just about pampering yourself, it's about cultivating inner resilience so that when life storms hit, you can weather them without being swept away. Emotional resilience also involves building a strong support system. While the focus here is on surviving alone when others change, it's important to remember that emotional resilience doesn't mean isolating yourself. In fact, having a network of supportive friends, mentors, or even professional counselors can provide the perspective and encouragement you need to stay grounded during times of transition. The key is to find people who uplift you, who can offer guidance without making you feel dependent on them. You should never be afraid to seek support when you need it, but always with the understanding that your inner strength is what will ultimately carry you through. A crucial element of emotional resilience is the ability to find meaning in difficult situations. When relationships shift and you feel hurt or confused, it can be hard to see the lesson or growth opportunity in the moment. But over time, as you reflect, you will often discover that these changes were necessary for your personal evolution. Maybe the relationship had reached its natural end, or maybe the person's change has given you the space to pursue new opportunities. Emotional resilience means trusting that everything happens for a reason, even when that reason is not immediately clear. Emotional resilience requires hope. It is the belief that no matter what changes around you, you will not only survive but thrive. Hope allows you to look beyond the immediate pain or discomfort of a situation and envision a future where you are stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true purpose. Hope doesn't ignore the reality of change, but it gives you the strength to face it with optimism, knowing that the best is yet to come. In essence, emotional resilience is your ability to adapt, grow, and thrive, even when people in your life change unexpectedly. It is the strength to stand firm in your own identity, knowing that your worth is not dependent on the actions of others. With emotional resilience, you can navigate the ebbs and flows of life with confidence, knowing that no matter what changes come, you are fully capable of surviving and thriving on your own terms. When people suddenly change, one of the first reactions many of us have is a deep sense of uncertainty. The familiar routines, interactions, and dynamics that once felt stable now seem disrupted. But during such times, the most important question you can ask yourself is, what can I control? Often the answer is much more than you might initially think. While you cannot control other people's actions, behaviors, or decisions, you have full control over how you respond, how you interpret the situation, and how you choose to move forward. In times of sudden change, especially in relationships or environments that we rely on, finding and focusing on what you can control becomes your anchor in the storm. One of the things you have full control over is your mindset. Your thoughts shape your reality, and during periods of change, it's easy to let negativity take over. You might feel hurt, disappointed, or even betrayed, but the choice is yours whether you dwell on these feelings or shift your mindset to something more empowering. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Reframing your perspective helps you stay in control of your emotional and mental well-being. It shifts you from a victim mindset where everything feels out of your hands to a mindset of growth and learning. Even in the face of sudden changes, you can decide how you will interpret and make sense of the situation. Another critical area you can control is your behavior. While emotions are often unpredictable, your actions do not have to be. When people around you change, it may feel like the world is spinning out of control, but how you respond is entirely up to you. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a step back. Give yourself space to process the change before deciding how you want to act. This might mean setting new boundaries, reevaluating the relationship, or even letting go of certain people or situations that no longer serve your growth. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control what you allow into your life and how you choose to engage with those around you. Self-discipline plays a vital role in this process. It takes discipline to choose constructive actions when emotions are running high. It requires self-control to not lash out or withdraw when you feel hurt or betrayed. But in controlling your actions, you retain your power. No matter what others do, your actions remain your own. Discipline allows you to rise above emotional reactions and act in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals, So even when everything around you feels chaotic, you can control your actions to maintain a sense of stability in your own life. Your attitude toward change is another area fully within your control. Life is full of unexpected shifts, and how you view these moments will determine how you navigate through them. Some people see change as a threat, something to be feared or avoided. Others see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. While you may not be able to change the fact that people in your life are evolving or moving in different directions, you can choose to see these changes as an opening for new opportunities. Instead of fearing the unknown, embrace it. See it as a chance to reinvent yourself, to explore new paths, and to discover strengths you never knew you had. The environment you create for yourself also lies within your control. While you cannot control whether others stay or leave, you can create an environment that nurtures your growth, peace, and well-being. This might mean creating physical spaces that help you feel grounded, or surrounding yourself with new people who align with your values and support your journey. It might also mean curating what you expose yourself to, such as the media you consume or the activities you engage in. When people change, the environment they once helped shape may no longer feel the same, but you can always redesign your own world to better suit your evolving needs and desires. One of the most empowering aspects of focusing on what you can control is that it builds resilience. When you stop worrying about things beyond your influence, you free up energy and mental space to invest in what truly matters: your growth, your happiness, and your goals. You become less reactive to external changes and more proactive in shaping your own life. In moments of sudden change, people who focus on what they can control are better equipped to adapt and thrive because they have trained themselves to look inward for strength, rather than relying on the stability of others. It's also worth noting that in times of uncertainty, controlling your internal dialogue is crucial. The way you speak to yourself during these moments will shape your ability to cope. Instead of feeding yourself thoughts of despair, helplessness, or anger, consciously choose to speak words of encouragement, optimism, and strength. Remind yourself that you are capable of navigating this change, that you have survived challenges before, and that you will continue to thrive no matter what. This inner dialogue becomes a tool that helps you remain centered, focused, and in control, even when external circumstances are turbulent. In moments when others change or leave, the most profound realization is that you have always been, and always will be, responsible for your own journey. No matter what others do, you are in control of your mindset, your actions, your environment, and your inner dialogue. By focusing on these areas, you take back your power. You stop being at the mercy of external circumstances and instead become the architect of your own life. In this way, change is no longer something to fear, but something to embrace, because you know that no matter what happens, you have control over the most important aspects of your life, your choices, your growth, and your destiny. One of the most difficult lessons we face when people suddenly change is the realization that at times we must learn to survive alone. There's a certain discomfort that comes with solitude, especially when we've been accustomed to companionship, shared experiences, and the sense of security that comes from relying on others. However, embracing solitude is not about isolation or shutting yourself off from the world. Rather, it is about discovering the strength, resilience, and independence that lie within you, even when no one else is around. Surviving alone is not a punishment, but a powerful opportunity for self-discovery and growth. In a world where we often lean on relationships, both personal and professional, for validation and support, being suddenly left to stand on your own can feel daunting. We live in a society that promotes connection, collaboration, and community, and while these are all valuable, they can sometimes overshadow the importance of building an internal foundation of self-reliance. When people change or relationships shift unexpectedly, those who have cultivated the ability to survive alone are better equipped to navigate the transition with grace. They are not devastated by the absence of others because they have built an inner strength that sustains them. One of the most powerful aspects of learning to survive alone is the discovery of your own capabilities. Often we don't realize the extent of our strength and resilience until we are placed in situations where we have no choice but to rely on ourselves. When those around you pull away or take a different path, it can feel like you've been left with nothing. But in reality, you are left with the most important resource of all, yourself. And within yourself, there is untapped potential waiting to be activated. When we stop relying on external sources of support, we begin to unlock the resources that have always existed within us: creativity, problem-solving, determination, and self-motivation. Solitude teaches you self-sufficiency. It forces you to confront your fears, your weaknesses, and the parts of yourself that you may have neglected in the comfort of relationships. When you are left alone, you are confronted with the responsibility of making decisions for your own life without relying on the input or approval of others. This can be challenging, but it is also incredibly liberating. You learn to trust your own judgment, to take responsibility for your choices, and to own the outcomes, whether they are successes or failures. This sense of autonomy builds confidence and strengthens your ability to navigate life independently. Another key aspect of surviving alone is the development of emotional resilience. When you no longer have the emotional support of others to fall back on, you must find ways to nurture and care for your own emotional well-being. This often involves learning to process your emotions in a healthy way without seeking external validation or comfort. It requires you to become your own source of encouragement and motivation, to uplift yourself when times are tough, and to find joy and fulfillment in your own company. This emotional independence is crucial because it means that no matter what changes occur in your relationships, your sense of self-worth and happiness remains intact. Solitude also provides the space for deep reflection and personal growth. When we are constantly surrounded by others, it can be difficult to hear our own thoughts, to understand our own needs, and to connect with our true desires. In moments of solitude, you have the opportunity to turn inward, to reflect on your life, your goals, and your values. You begin to see yourself more clearly without the influence of external opinions or expectations. This clarity allows you to make decisions that are aligned with who you truly are, rather than who others expect you to be. Solitude becomes a sacred space where you can reconnect with your authentic self and realign with your true purpose. Surviving alone teaches you the value of self-love. When you no longer have others to rely on for validation or affirmation, you must learn to provide these things for yourself. This means treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and respect, even when no one else is around to do so. It means celebrating your own successes, comforting yourself in times of difficulty, and believing in your own worth, regardless of external circumstances. Self-love is the foundation of true independence because it means that you are no longer dependent on the approval or affection of others to feel whole. You are complete in yourself. Learning to survive alone does not mean rejecting relationships or becoming isolated. It is about finding a balance between self-reliance and connection. When you are able to stand strong on your own, you can engage in relationships from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. You are no longer looking for someone to complete you or to fill a void. Instead, you can offer love, support, and companionship freely without the fear of losing yourself in the process. Surviving alone empowers you to form healthier, more balanced relationships because you are not dependent on them for your sense of identity or worth. Surviving alone is about realizing that you are enough. You have everything you need within yourself to thrive, no matter what changes occur in your external environment. People may come and go, relationships may shift, and circumstances may change, but your inner strength, resilience, and self-reliance remain constant. When you learn to embrace solitude and find strength in your own company, you become unshakable. You no longer fear being left alone because you know that you are fully capable of not only surviving but thriving on your own terms. In essence, surviving alone is not about isolation but about independence. It is about discovering the strength that lies within you and learning to trust yourself fully. It is about cultivating self-love, emotional resilience, and personal autonomy, so that no matter what changes come your way, you are equipped to handle them with grace and confidence. Solitude becomes a powerful tool for growth, reflection, and self-discovery, allowing you to emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true self. Navigating the sudden changes in people around you requires more than just resilience. It calls for a deep sense of self-reliance, emotional strength, and an unshakable foundation within yourself. You may not be able to control how others evolve, but you always have control over your own mindset, actions, and response. Embracing solitude, not as isolation but as a time for self-discovery, strengthens your ability to survive and even thrive when others pull away. It empowers you to rely on your internal resources, building a foundation that is independent of external validation. This process of learning to survive alone is not about rejecting relationships or being disconnected from the world. Rather, it's about cultivating the ability to stand strong and maintain your sense of worth, purpose, and direction, regardless of the changes or challenges life presents. By doing so, you develop the resilience and self-assurance to face any situation with confidence, knowing that you are fully capable of thriving on your own.